resistance is in the way. And it's only a matter of time until that resistance starts to really squash your hope along with that motivation. And so that's what we don't want to happen, right? That's why we are here to really find out, how do we push through resistance and how do we get that motivation that we need in our life?
You're watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.
Hi, friend. Today we are talking about motivation. How do we find motivation? And not having the motivation to get up off the couch and to do what you want to do can be so frustrating, right? This is an experience that all of us have of just wanting to push through and wanting to find motivation. So today I have 3 steps to get that motivation in your life. So when we're talking about not having motivation, what are we really saying? We're saying, let's say you want to write a book and you want to become a published author. And so to do this, I have to write X amount of words every single day to hone my craft, to create this manuscript, to put together my proposal, and then to reach out to a publisher. You know the whole path, right? But you get home from work and you find yourself on the couch and part of you is saying go write, get out your computer and start typing. But then something gets in your way. And that thing that blocks you from going and doing what you need to do to accomplish your dream of being a published author is resistance. And so what we're talking about really is, how do we deal with resistance that blocks our motivation? And it's very frustrating, right? Maybe you've had this dream of becoming an author for years, and every year that goes by that you don't get up and go start typing, your frustration gets larger, and then the really scary thing is you start to lose that hope, right? The dream starts to die. And this also can apply to a weight loss goal. Maybe you have weight you want to lose. And again, you get home from work and you're tired and you're on the couch and that voice is like, get up, go work out, go make a healthy meal. But resistance is in the way and it keeps you from doing it. And it's only a matter of time until that resistance starts to really squash your hope along with that motivation. And so that's what we don't want to happen, right? That's why we are here to really find out, how do we push through resistance and how do we get that motivation that we need in our life? And so the first step is really to normalize this resistance rather than personalize it. And it's so easy to immediately personalize it and to immediately jump to the conclusion that I'm lazy or I just don't have what it takes. Whatever runs through your mind that takes your lack of motivation and turns it into a negative about yourself. This is called personalizing it. And you're making it almost like a character flaw of yours. I haven't typed and I haven't worked on my manuscript for months. And what does that say about you, right? The human condition is to turn it inwards and to say, what does this mean about me? Maybe you haven't been to the gym in a couple of years. Maybe you've haven't cooked a healthy meal. You've been getting takeout, right? What does that say about you? As humans, we want to just turn it inward and make it something negative about ourselves. So step 1 to finding our motivation again is to normalize this and just to be like, look, this is resistance, right? This is something that every other human on the planet has to deal with. And that's another thing. All high achievers, it doesn't matter what level of achievement they're at. If your goal is to be this published author, there could be the best-selling author that publishes a book every single year for decades. And I promise you that on a daily or weekly basis, that high achiever feels that same resistance that you do. And so just knowing, it's not a character flaw. There's nothing wrong with you that you feel this resistance blocking you. That just means you're human, right? And so normalizing this process and getting away from that negative spiral of this is about my worth, this is about my abilities. So that is step one, is just normalizing the feeling of resistance and not personalizing it. So the second step is, once we've done this and you know, okay, this is resistance, this is something that everybody feels and experiences in their life. So now we want to separate ourselves from this resistance and to observe it. Let's notice it, right? And you can even picture just like something like a black cloud is blocking you from the action that you want to be doing. And so let's say that's getting off the couch and going and opening your laptop and working on your manuscript. So you can just visualize this black cloud is blocking you from doing that action. So we're separating ourselves from it. Like, we're not the resistance. The resistance is happening to us. And I like to think of this almost like, the weather. The weather happens to us. Like, we can't control it. You walk outside. If it's a sunny day, like, the sun is happening to you. If it's raining and a thunderstorm, like, that's just happening. Part of being alive and being a human is to have to go outside and experience the weather. And so understanding that this resistance that's blocking you from doing the great things that you want to do, or even getting started on what you want to do, is just something that you're experiencing. So we've separated from the resistance, we're observing it. And now I want to take it a step further. This observation of this resistance that's blocking your motivation, and that's really to start to visualize it. So I threw out the suggestion of picturing like this black cloud, and that's a visualization that you could give it. Something I've shared before and that I really like to do with internal resistance is to picture a dragon. And so when you've done this, so let's say I'm the one sitting on the couch and I know I need to work out because I haven't worked out in 2 or 3 or 4 days, however it is, I'm off my routine. And as I'm sitting there, the resistance comes in and I'm just thinking like, man, I don't really want to get up. Like, I'm really comfortable here. And I immediately I picture this big goofy dragon sitting behind my shoulder, like whispering these motivational squishing ideas into my ear. And as soon as I picture this goofy dragon, I start to get a little bit fired up, right? Like, this guy is trying to prevent me from doing what I want to do. I know, we've normalized it. I know everyone has a dragon. I know everyone experiences this. I'm separate from it. I know this resistance isn't me. It's just something that happens. It's something that I experience. And now I have this visual of this dragon, and I'm locked on now to proving him wrong. And this is like, I can get pretty stubborn. Maybe you're the same way. But as soon as it becomes almost like, okay, it's me versus the resistance, it's me versus the dragon, all of a sudden it becomes much easier to get up off the couch and to show him who's going to win in this situation. And so I like to think of internal resistance, meaning that needing motivation, as a dragon. And as we've talked about in previous episodes about self-image, really our dragon is almost like the guardian of our self-image, right? He's keeping our limits in place. We've talked about self-image psychology and using the theater of your mind to expand and to grow your self-image and to expand on that blueprint that you have of yourself. And so when I am experiencing internal resistance, which is directly tied to self-image, I picture that dragon, and I know this is an internal battle. There's other types of resistance out there, though, because when you have big goals, there's multiple times and there's multiple ways that resistance can get between you and the finish line. And so another version of resistance is external. And this is when things are happening to you, right? In running a business, this is when you're getting notices from the IRS, or your landlord is raising your rent, and there's outside things that are happening to you that are blocking your objectives. And so in this scenario, this external resistance, I picture a bear, and I picture it as being very impersonal. When resistance comes from the outside, once again, we do typically personalize it. Like, how could this be happening to me? And we can kind of go into victim mode, right? Like, I can't believe it. These 4 things are happening that's making it harder for me to run my business this month. And again, when you personalize anything in a charged way, all that it does is send you into this negative emotional spiral, right? We talk about our emotional network and our thinking mind. And this is like your emotional network is starting to get inflamed and get upset because of this situation that you're dealing with. And so when we do these things of visualize it like a dragon or visualize it like a bear, what are we doing? We're diffusing the emotional aspect. We're making it not personal. We're making it normal. And then we're just moving and we're living more in this thinking mind. We're accessing this thinking mind so that we're able to move through it without all of the emotion and move it to a solution in a better way. And so that's why it can sound kind of weird. Like, okay, you're visualizing a dragon when you want to get up and go to the gym. But really what I'm doing is I'm diffusing self-sabotaging emotions, and I'm diffusing negative emotions about myself, and I'm jumping over and I'm able to use the logical part of my brain to push through the problem. So there's a third form of resistance, and I'm sure there's more, but these are just the 3 that really I have experienced, is the internal, where it's like I can't motivate myself, external, where it's like these things are happening to me. And then the third is, this actually comes from Napoleon Hill, his book Outwitting the Devil, but he calls this the hypnotic rhythm. And we've talked on the show before about inertia. So when you get into the rhythm of doing something, so we've talked a lot about getting home from work and sitting on the couch, because that really blocks us from doing a lot of things. For one example was, I want to go and type and I want to work on my manuscript. And then another example is like, hey, I want to get up and be active and be fit and work towards my weight loss goal. So the more times that you come home and sit on the couch and let resistance win, the more likely you are to do it the next day. And this makes a lot of logical sense, right? We get into a rhythm. And so Napoleon Hill calls this the hypnotic rhythm, because it is almost like you're hypnotized in that you're no longer making a conscious choice to do it. You're just doing it because you're in this rhythm of doing it. And so I am very visual. So I like to picture like a toilet flushing. So you can imagine a toilet's flushing and like the water is spinning around, right? And it's almost like this little tornado. And it's caught, like if you dropped your toothbrush in, it's caught in this spiral and in this motion. And so we can find ourselves in a place where the dragon has held us down on this particular topic for so long that now the hypnotic rhythm of this is what I always do takes over. And now we're dealing with 2 forms of resistance to get that same outcome. And so knowing that this is a thing, and we've all experienced this in our life, knowing this is more motivation for us to really conquer the dragon as soon as we can. Because while it is possible to get out of the hypnotic rhythm, it takes more effort, right? So it's, we're visualizing if it's the dragon and the pull of the hypnotic rhythm, those are 2 forces that we have to get through to get on the other side. So like any habit, forming a new habit takes about 21 days, and the first 21 days are tough, right? It's pulling yourself through that resistance until enough time has gone by for you to be pulled out of that hypnotic rhythm, and then to have the dragon stand down and be like, hey, all right, they get home from work, they type on their manuscript, I'm going to leave them alone now. But the really cool thing about the hypnotic rhythm is that, like all of these things, it's impersonal in that it's going to now help you to stay in that healthy habit, right? So once you are working on your manuscript every night and you're making progress, and now this is just what you do, right? This is part of your routine. The hypnotic rhythm is going to help you stay there as you need to. So that's what's super cool about the hypnotic rhythm. We can use it to help us achieve what we want to achieve. All right, so these are the 3 steps to really help you find your motivation, push through that resistance. First, you normalize it. It's not you. It's just part of the human condition to deal with resistance. Then you separated yourself from the resistance. You're observing it. You're kind of analyzing it. Is it internal resistance? Is this external resistance? Am I caught in the hypnotic rhythm? We're visualizing it, and then we're going to conquer it. And it's good to know that this is a process that's always continuously going to happen in your life. So once you get to the end of your manuscript, and once you've created that proposal, you're going to find yourself faced with resistance when it comes to sending your proposal to the publisher, right? There's every step of the way, there's new opportunities to overcome resistance, to maintain a burning motivation, to keep growing and learning and becoming a better version of ourselves. So friends, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you are feeling motivated and really just that you're equipped to know how to deal with resistance the next time you're sitting there on the couch. You have some tools in your belt now to pull out and say, okay, I know how to deal with this, and it's not going to keep me down. So extra credit for the week, if you choose to accept it, is to really think about where you're stuck today. Where in your life is resistance keeping you down today? And spend some time visualizing this resistance, deciding if it's internal, external, if you're caught in that hypnotic rhythm. Spend some time really focusing on it, because that is the first step to really pushing through resistance to get and to be who you want to be. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do, please subscribe so you can be notified when there's new content. Share your comments. What do you think about this? Where has resistance popped up in your life, and what has it kept you from doing, and how have you pushed through? So thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week.
Thanks for watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.